All right. Good evening to all of you. Vikas Yadav, Sunny Mehta, my young friends. It's nice to be among young people, but I must confess, all of you look very, very young. Either very young children are joining JNU, or I'm becoming very old soon. Anyway, it's nice to see so many young faces. I'm going to speak to you on some things I believe in, and some things which I think you must be concerned about. I mean, I could pick internal conflict, I could pick Kashmir, I can pick foreign relations, I could pick communal conflict, I could pick violence. While each one of this is important, I think the most important thing for a country with, say, 130 crore people, and nearly 60% of them below the age of 35 years is, what is the future of India's economy? Ultimately, what makes or breaks a country is its economy. A growing country, a flourishing economy means that people are happy, people look forward to the future, people are confident, and people learn to live with other people. But an economy which is on the decline, an economy which is sputtering, an economy where there are no jobs, that will eventually lead to a great deal of dissatisfaction, conflict, crime, and social disharmony. So I want to speak to you about the economy. I know not many of you are enrolled in economics courses, but I'm going to speak to you in a way that even non-economic students will understand what I'm talking about. By the way, I don't have a degree in economics. Although a lot of people think I do, I don't have a degree in economics. You can learn economics the way I learned economics, on the job. Economics is basically common sense. Something which your father, your mother will know, a farmer will know, a shopkeeper will know, a small businessman will know. How does growth take place? Just ask yourself the question. How does growth take place? Growth takes place if more people demand goods and services, and then on the other side there are enough people to supply those goods and services. That's growth. He said 100 people want bicycles. Then somebody will produce 100 bicycles. If people want 1,000 bicycles, then somebody will get together and say, we'll produce 1,000 bicycles. If a country wants 100,000 bicycles, then obviously somebody has to produce 100,000 bicycles. And if you want to produce 100,000 bicycles, you must produce steel, you must produce copper, somebody must make that steel into rims, somebody has to produce leather to make a seat, Somebody has to produce something which acts as a brake. Somebody has to make something which acts as a bell. So this is how growth takes place. People must buy things, people will sell things. People must consume things, people will produce things. Now why is somebody poor? Somebody is poor because he does not have enough to buy food. He does not have enough to buy clothes. He does not have enough to buy shoes for his children. He does not have enough to buy books for his children. He's poor. But if he has the money to buy books, buy clothes, buy shoes, then he's certainly richer than what he was yesterday. And if somebody buys these things, somebody will make these things. That's how an economy grows. Consumption drives production. People must buy, people must sell. That's the basic of any economy. You call it capitalist, you call it communist, you call it socialist, it makes no difference. An economy keeps growing if people will buy and people will sell. Now, people must buy and people must sell. Two things must happen. Those who want to buy must have income. Without an income, how do you buy? Why is somebody poor? Because he has only an income of 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees a month. Why is somebody rich? Because he has an income of 50,000 rupees a month. Why is somebody super rich? He has an income of several crores a year. So if you want to buy things, consume things, you must have income. Now how will people make things? People will make things only if you've got the capital. You must invest. If you must produce steel, if you must produce aluminium, if you must produce leather goods, you must invest. Otherwise, you can't conjure up. There's no Aladdin's lamp. You take a lamp and rub it, and suddenly steel will come. Steel will not come. Steel means you must invest in a steel plant. So people must invest. So all this long story is to tell you a couple of economic truths. First, an economy is growing only when people have incomes. An economy is growing only when people have money to invest. Without investment, without income, an economy is not growing. Now what is happening in India today is there is no investment. Investment is not taking place. Because investment is not taking place, jobs are not being created. Because jobs are not being created, incomes are not rising. If incomes are not rising, people are consuming not as much as they should, they're consuming less. This is a vicious cycle of poverty. If you want to break this cycle, you have to break it somewhere. You have to create jobs, or you have to find money to invest, you have to produce more. That is the only way an economy will grow. What has happened in the last 3 years, and I know some people will disagree with me, but that is a fact. What has happened in the last 3 years is investment is stagnant. Because investment is stagnant, jobs are not being created. Because jobs are not being created, incomes are not rising. Let's start with the farm sector. 60% of India, in some way or other, depends on agriculture. You go out to rural India, that is visible. Some way or other, they are dependent on agriculture. Either they own land and they till the land, or they work on the land, or they are farm workers, farm labor, or they are in activity related to land. Agriculture may contribute less than 20% to India's GDP, but agriculture provides sustenance to nearly 60% of our people. So we cannot neglect agriculture. For a long, long time, India's mainstay will be agriculture. There's another way to look at it. We are 130 crore people. We need rice, we need wheat, we need pulses. Who will grow them? Is there any country in the world which can grow enough rice and enough wheat and enough pulses to feed 130 crore people? There's no country in the world. There's no country in the world which has so much surplus that it can feed 130 crore people. Which is why, way back, Jawaharlal Nehru said, everything can wait, but not agriculture. Everything can wait, but not agriculture. Because we must feed our own people. No country, take a country like, say, you pick any country, France. Can France produce the rice and wheat that you and I need? Take a country in Africa, Nigeria. Can Nigeria produce enough food for us? No way. So agriculture is the mainstay of India. It will remain the mainstay of India. We need agriculture in order to feed our people. We need agriculture because 60% of the people are dependent on agriculture. Now what has happened to agriculture? I'm not saying this. Arvind Subramaniam, until last month, the chief economic advisor to the government of India said, in the last 4 years, real agricultural incomes have remained stagnant. Real agricultural income, adjusted for inflation, it is stagnant, which means a farmer who was earning, say, 1,000 rupees a month 4 years ago is earning the same 1,000 rupees after 4 years. A small landholder, say 2 acres of land, he was earning, say, 50,000 rupees a year, he's earning the same 50,000 rupees a year. Agricultural labor, who was getting, say, 300 rupees a day 4 years ago, is getting the same 300 rupees a day. Which means agriculture is stagnating. And if agriculture is stagnating, 60% of India, which is dependent on agriculture in one way or other, is stagnating. This is the biggest drawback to India's economy. This government has totally failed in agriculture. In fact, I can charge it with criminal neglect of agriculture, as a result of which millions of people are today stagnating where they were 4 years ago. Now let's move to industry. 90% of jobs, you will find it when you go out into the world and look for a job. 90% of jobs in India, formal jobs, are in the SME sector. In fact, to be exact, something like 93% of jobs are in the SME sector. The Birlas and Tatas don't create too many jobs. Today, to put up a power plant of, say, 1,000 megawatts, it will cost you 5,000 crore rupees. That's a rule of thumb. 5 crore for 1 megawatt. If you invest 5,000 crore rupees and put up a 1,000 megawatt plant, at best you will create 1,000 jobs. So 5,000 crore will create 1,000 jobs. So that's where now the jobs are created. Jobs are created in the small and medium sector, small and medium enterprises, shopkeepers, small workshops, small tool rooms, somebody who is in the service industry, runs a laundry, runs a bakery, or somebody who manufactures cakes, somebody who got 6 looms and manufactures clothes. Jobs are created in India, like in rest of the world, in the small and medium sector. If somebody employs 4 people and he grows big enough to employ 5 people or 6 people, 2 jobs are created. Jobs are created in India in the SME sector. Now what has happened to the SME sector? I told you about agriculture. Now let me tell you about the SME sector. SME sector in the last 4 years has had negative credit. Negative credit, which means I want to start a business. I've got 5 lakhs of rupees. I go to a bank and banks give me 5 lakh of rupees. I start a business with 10 lakhs. The bank giving me 5 lakh of rupees is positive credit. But 4 years ago, banks were giving X number of 1,000 crores as credit. 4 years later, they're giving less credit. If banks are giving less credit, there is negative credit. If there is negative credit, how can there be investment in the SME sector? No new SMEs are coming up. If no new SMEs are coming up, how can jobs be created? The result why there are no jobs anywhere, and I'm going to come to jobs a little more detail. There are no jobs anywhere is because the SME sector is not creating jobs. In the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly, the Minister of Industry made a statement about 2 months ago, official statement. He said, in 2017-18, in Tamil Nadu alone, 50,000 SME units were closed down and 5 lakh people lost their jobs. You've all heard of Tirupur. I go to Tirupur quite often. Tirupur is one town where you walk on any street, you used to find boards, vacancies, we are recruiting people. In Tamil, vacancies, we are recruiting people. Today you go to Tirupur, I can't find a single board which says job vacancies, we are recruiting people. Not one board I could see. Which means SMEs are not creating jobs. If SMEs are not creating jobs, if those who are employed, let us assume remain employed, where are the new jobs coming? There are no new jobs because SME sector is simply not getting credit. Now you may ask me, why should SMEs create jobs? We are all master's degree holders, we are PhD degree holders, we are not going to work in an SME, right? But not all are master's degree holders and not all are PhD degree holders. What is the position of education in this country? If 100 children join class 1, if 100 children join class 1, by the time they reach class 8, 60% of the children have left school. 80% of children have left school by the time they complete class 12. Only 20% of children complete class 12 and go to college. So in India, we must find jobs not only for PhD and MA and MSc. We have to find jobs for plus 2. We have to find jobs for class 10. You have to find jobs for class 8. You have to find jobs even for class 5 students. People have done 5 years of school. You have to find jobs for them. And these jobs are available only in agriculture or agriculture related activities or in SME sector. I mean, Narayana Murthy of Infosys is not going to employ a class 5 student. Wipro or Tata Consultancy is not going to employ somebody who's completed class 8. But in India, I have to find jobs for people who complete class 8 as well as class 5. Therefore, today agriculture is stagnant, SME is not growing, SMEs are closing down, which is why India's economy is in the present stage. You may ask me, well, the numbers say we are growing at 7%. Of course we will grow at 7%. Why would we not grow at 7%? We will grow at 7% because 7% growth is natural growth for India. If our power sector works, if our steel mills work, naturally people will demand more goods, more services. This is a natural growth. But this natural, normal growth does not create jobs, does not create incomes. Which is why there's so much unhappiness that we find. There's so much unhappiness. You go anywhere in India, I'll tell you a couple of anecdotes. You go anywhere in India and ask questions. I've asked this question in Thoothukudi. I've asked this question in Nashik. I've asked this question in Kolhapur. I've asked this question in Thane, near Mumbai. I've asked this question in Kolkata. I've asked this question in a small town like Karaikudi. I have an audience here, mainly chambers of commerce, business people, etc. I asked them, Tell me, how many of you have added one more job in your muster roll in the last 12 months? If you've already got 20 people working for you, how many of you have added the 21st person? Believe me, not one hand goes up. Not one hand goes up. Maybe somebody's shy and is not saying. Let's allow 5 hands may have gone up. He's shy. He may have added one job. He does not want to admit he added only one job. But by and large, the audience is completely silent. The last meeting I addressed was in Nashik. There were some 3,000 people. Chartered accountant, lawyer, doctor, citizens, chambers of commerce. I asked this question, not one hand went up saying, yes, I created a job. I have another client, 2,000 crore industry into the construction business. Turnkey construction. He builds roads, he builds power plants, he builds factories, turnkey. He takes contract, builds the factory, builds the road and hands it over. He's a turnkey contractor. You understand what a turnkey contractor is. EPC contractor. 2,000 crore is the turnover. The owner is a respected businessman. Not very big, not very small. I asked him, we were chatting, I asked him, how many people do you employ? He says, I employ about 800 people. I said, how many of them are engineers? He said, I have about 250 engineers. How many are designers and architects? He said, I have about 150 designers. I have 2 centers for design. Design is made in the 2 centers. I said, how many jobs have you added in the last 2 years or 3 years? He started laughing. He said, why are you laughing? He said, adding jobs? I have sacked 100 people in the last 2 years. I've asked 100 people to go home because I have no work. I'm doing the work that I was doing 3-4 years ago, but I'm not doing more work. And if I'm not doing more work, what do I do? Adding jobs. And therefore I'm sacking people. I've sacked 100 people in the last 2 years. And all this makes me very sad. All this makes me very sad, and all this makes me very sad, not for myself, but for you. For your parents, for your brothers, for your sisters. Where will you get jobs? Now, when the economy depends on internally favorable factors, it also depends on externally favorable factors. I concede that point. But the external environment is extremely favorable. I remember 2008, 8th of July, when crude oil prices were $145 a barrel. I wish the earth had opened up and swallowed me. What do I do with $145 a barrel? If crude oil is at $145 a barrel, how do you maintain prices? How do you contain inflation? How do you pay for the crude oil? We import 90% of our crude oil from Iran, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, etc. When the Modi government took over, in September 2014, prices crashed to $30 a barrel. It remained at about $40 a barrel for a long time. The huge bonanza, but they didn't capitalize on that bonanza. External environment is still very favorable. World economy in the last 3 years has grown at an average of 3.2%. And world economy growing at 3 or 3.2% is considered very high, very good. So the external environment is favorable. If the external environment is favorable, why are we not growing? Why is India not growing at 9%, 10%, which alone will create jobs? At 7%, you can't create jobs. At 7%, you can only have enough jobs so that people who retire, people who die are replaced by new people. You won't get additional jobs. Additional jobs will come only when the economy grows at 8%, 9%, 10%. My regret is, in the last 4 years, we have squandered a great opportunity. We squandered a great opportunity presented by a very benign, very helpful external environment, as a result of which we have done great disservice to the people of this country, especially to the young people of this country. We have done a great disservice. Now, I don't want to get into the macroeconomic numbers. Some of these numbers may not make any sense to you, but let's understand the numbers. Fiscal deficit will not be contained this year at 3.3%. The current account deficit is going to touch at least 2.5%. Our foreign exchange reserves have been run down by almost $30 billion in the last 2 months. The rupee is depreciating. So all these indicators, the macroeconomic stability is being compromised. Our banks have no money to lend. Bank NPAs have crossed 10 lakh crore. It will cross 12 lakh crore by the end of this year. Banks have no money to lend. I meet chairmen at airports, on flights, etc. So ask a chairman of a bank, have you got a big ticket loan proposal? Is somebody come to you for 5,000 crore, 3,000 crore for put up a huge plant? How many loans have you sanctioned? He looks around, makes sure nobody's hearing me, nobody's hearing us, make sure nobody's in hearing set. Then he whispers in my ear, sir, I'm retiring in 6 months. Nobody wants to lend today. Nobody wants to lend. Why would he lend? Today, just today, 28th of August, 17,000 crore. 17,000 crore of power plants has been referred to the insolvency board. The date expired yesterday, 27th of August. 180 days is over. Today, 17,000 megawatts, did I say crore wrong? 17,000 megawatts of power capacity has been referred to the insolvency board. India's top companies are in the insolvency. Every lawyer worth his salt is no longer practicing in the High Court. He's practicing before the insolvency board. That is where the largest number of lawyers are. If 100 companies, 200 companies of India are before insolvency, what does it say about India's industry? This is not a partisan speech. I'm not making a political speech. I'm making a speech because I'm deeply concerned that we have lost a great opportunity to build India's economy. Even otherwise, it is a difficult task to manage India's economy. But this government did two of the most foolish things that one can think of. First, demonetization. Show me one economist anywhere in the world who has stood up and said demonetization is a good thing. Not one. On the day Prime Minister announced demonetization, Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramaniam was in Kerala. He was not even in Delhi. He was not consulted. He did not know that demonetization is taking place. He is the Chief Economic Advisor to the Government of India. He is in Kerala addressing a seminar. And at 8 o'clock, 7:30, he receives a telephone call from one of the Prime Minister's assistants to say, Arvind, tune into your television at 8 o'clock, a major announcement is coming. If the Chief Economic Advisor of this country does not know that demonetization is being done, what kind of an economy is this? It's like the Chief of Army Staff being told, at 8 o'clock, please tune into your television. Prime Minister is making an important announcement, and Prime Minister goes and says, we have declared war on China. If Chief of Army Staff does not know, what is he the Chief of Army Staff for? That is how demonetization was done. I can tell you all kinds of stories about demonetization. You won't believe me. You won't to Delhi. Here the cabinet is waiting. The cabinet has been called, they are waiting. Prime Minister has not come, the cabinet ministers are waiting. Then the Prime Minister comes. Prime Minister comes and says, an important announcement will be made at 8 o'clock. All of you please stay here. You will get coffee, tea, etc. You can eat. No mobile telephones, you can't go home. And then the Prime Minister goes and announces it. The cabinet sees it on television. This is exactly what happened. They will never admit it. We have asked by RTI, we have asked the RBI, where is the agenda paper? Where is the background note? Where are the minutes of the meeting? They still don't have it. They won't give it under RTI. They won't give it under RTI. There's no cabinet paper for the cabinet. The cabinet was called without a cabinet paper. And this is exactly what happened. All right, forget the funny part of the story. What did demonetization do? Did it help this country? Geeta Gopinath is a professor at Harvard University. She is in the Prime Minister's International Advisory Group. She made a statement, it's on record, it's on newspapers. I have not come across an economist anywhere in the world who has a good word to say about demonetization. Geeta Gopinath's statement, not mine. What did demonetization do? Demonetization impoverished the people of India. Demonetization drove people into debt. There are people who had to borrow to live, borrow to pay wages, borrow to pay farm wages, borrow to carry on their little trade. They have not repaid their debt so far. For 2 months, daily workers did not get work. Please remember, in this country there are 15 crore people. 15 crore people who are dependent on daily labor. Head load worker, carpenter, plumber, electrician, mason, bricklayer, cart puller, rickshaw puller. 15 crore people, farm labor. Assuming that 3 people are dependent on him, 45 crore people in this country are dependent on daily work. You work today, you can have food tonight. If you don't work, there is no food. 15 crore families, 45 crore people are dependent on daily work. For 2 months, they had no work. For 2 months, they had no income. They had to live. They borrowed money. And they are deep in debt today. Unable to pay the debt. This is the position what demonetization did. And I told you, small and medium industry, in Tamil Nadu alone, 50,000 units were closed down. Multiplied by 29 states. In Tamil Nadu, 50,000 units. What about Maharashtra? What about Gujarat? What about Punjab, Haryana, Bengal? You multiply it. 5 lakh people lost their jobs in Tamil Nadu. Multiply it again by 29. So what did demonetization do? The next foolish step was the way they implemented GST. It's a shame. GST is a good idea. I announced it in 2006 and I wanted it implemented by 2010. The BJP obstructed it. All right, we won't get into all that. But when you implemented GST, what did you do? This is not GST. World over, GST is one rate. And I said in Parliament, please keep one rate. Arvind Subramaniam has recommended a rate of 15% or 15.5%. I will go a step further. Cap it at 18%. Don't have a rate above 18%. They had 0, 0.3, 5, 8, 12, 15, 28, 40 and cesses on top of that. So what did they do? When Gujarat election came, they cut the rates for about 200 items. When Karnataka election came, they cut the rate for another 200 items. So I wrote, every month we must have an election. That is the only way they will cut the rate. What kind of a GST is this? Is there anywhere in the world where you've got 5 rates for GST today? Just go and ask a small businessman. He will tell you the kind of torture that the GST is doing. I'll tell you what happened in Ahmedabad. They opened a GST Seva Center where people can go and get advice on how to comply with GST. They posted 3-4 top officers in Ahmedabad. So the local Ahmedabad Chamber of Commerce decided, let us go there and ask for Seva, how to fill the form. So they all went there and gave their account books of 2 or 3 people and said, now please fill out this GST form. Believe me, I'm not telling you a story, this happened, it's in the papers. For 3 hours, those officers tried to fill the form, they could not fill the form. Now today, I come from a small town, a village near a small town, Karaikudi. Population of 1.5 lakhs. Small businessmen, small shopkeepers. They've got local accountants who write their books and they pay their taxes, sales tax, whatever, VAT, etc. Suddenly you tell him, Baba, you'll have to file 3 returns a month, 36 returns plus 1 annual return, 37 returns a year, and you must file it online. He says, what is online? What do I know about online? I can write an account book, I can write a day book and a ledger, and my accountant will calculate the tax. You'd suddenly tell me, go online, open this, press this key, you will get this done, then go to this tab, press this, that will open now. He says, I've never seen a computer. Suddenly you say, implement it. Now, how do you do this in a country like India? Thank God, because we have got such robust common sense and such adaptability and resilience. After a lot of suffering, about 12 months and 15 months of suffering, industry is more or less adjusted to the GST and have learned to fight. They have learned to fight. But look at the difficulty you put them through. So these are foolish things. Now the third foolish thing is tax terrorism. If any of you come from business families, you must go and ask your father or mother. Income tax department sends out 1 lakh notices, 2 lakh notices. GST department sends out 1 lakh notices. Now the income tax department simply does not have the capacity to deal with 1 lakh notices. If you send out 1 lakh notices, you will get 1 lakh replies. And you must deal with the 1 lakh replies, you must pass an order. Income tax department simply does not have the capacity to deal with 1 lakh notices. But why are you sending 1 lakh notices? To terrorize people, to threaten people. Listen, watch out. If you don't fall in line, if you don't pay taxes, what I ask you, if you complain too much, I will send you a notice. You ask any businessman, he will tell you, example of tax terrorism is the kind of notices he gets every day, every month, every 3 months he gets a notice. All this has mucked up India's economy. The net result is, we are in a state of stagnation. 7% growth in India is stagnation. It is not growth. Anything above 7% is growth. 7% is the normal. 7% is the normal. For example, if India produces, say, 200 million tons of food grain, that is normal. That is not growth, because every year you will produce 200 million tons. It will rain somewhere, it will flood somewhere, drought somewhere, but you will produce 200 million tons. It's like a teacher saying, half my class passed this year, but half my class passing is normal. You are a good teacher if all your class students pass. If half the class passes, it's normal. What is great about it? That's normal. Children will pass exams. Therefore, 7% growth is normal. Don't get excited about 7% growth. 7% growth sends me into depression. It doesn't excite me. Anything above 7% is growth. 8% is growth. 9% is very good growth. 10% is excellent growth. But we are nowhere near achieving it. Nowhere near achieving it. UPA 1, NDA 1 growth was 5.68%. UPA 1 growth was 8.36%. UPA 2 growth was 7.68%. NDA 2, the last 4 years, growth is 7.33%. This year also they will achieve 7% growth, but doesn't excite me at all. So this is the state of our economy. I'm sorry to bring you bad news. I wish I could have brought you better news. But that is because, and I don't question anybody's intention. I have not used a harsh word in the last 30 minutes. I don't question anybody's intention. I think every Prime Minister, every government wants to do something. I think so. But wanting to do something is different from having the capacity to do it. I also want to run 100 meters like Usain Bolt, but I can't run like Usain Bolt. I can't run like Usain Bolt. I also want to do this, I also want to score a century like Virat Kohli, but I can't score a century like Virat Kohli. The problem about this government is, as far as economy is concerned, they do not have competent managers. They do not have competent people to manage the economy. They had a few people, but all of them ran away. The first to leave was Dr. Raghuram Rajan. Why did you let him go? Is he anti-national? There are at least 10 countries which will want Raghuram Rajan as their governor. You let him go. Then there was Dr. Arvind Panagriya, Columbia University. Well, you can have difference of opinion about him, but he is a reputed economist. He left Niti Aayog because nobody consulted him on anything. Then you had Arvind Subramaniam. The last recognizable name in this government was Arvind Subramaniam. He also left. Who are you left with now? Who are you left with now? Well, I don't want to take names, you know the names. Who are you left with now? It is not as though Indians don't have talent. There is talent here in this hall. There is talent in your university. There is talent abroad. There is enormous talent abroad. There is enormous talent abroad. Please remember, the head of Harvard Business School is an Indian. Until last year, the head of Kellogg's was an Indian. He now heads the school in China. China has taken an Indian who was head of Kellogg's to head their business school because they want to build a business school in Shanghai equal to Harvard Business School. He's an Indian. There are Indians who are heading universities today, but nobody wants to come back and work for the government of India today. Why? You must ask yourself why. Now, why would an Arvind Subramaniam or a Raghuram Rajan work for somebody who does not even take them into confidence about demonetization? Why would he work for somebody? Why would he work for somebody who rejects the report saying, please keep GST rate at 15%? Why would they work for somebody? Therefore, India is being served poorly by incompetent economic managers. It's sad, but we'll have to suffer it for a little while longer. I hope not too long. I don't know. I don't know how long we have to suffer it. But I'm very sorry to say that we have lost a great opportunity to build a 10% growth economy. Thank you very much.